Good afternoon. My name is Mike Baumann. I'm the superintendent of the Newfane Central School District. I'm here today to share information with you about our proposed budget for the 2021-2022 school year. Now, typically, we would hold a public budget hearing and present this information in a large group setting on the first Tuesday in May, prior to one of our Board of Education meetings. Unfortunately, due to the restrictions that are still in place regarding large group gatherings, we don't have that option this year. So like last year, we're creating a video presentation, which we will post on our Facebook pages and on our district website in advance of the first board meeting in May, so that the public has an opportunity to review the information on the proposed budget and submit any comments or questions they might have to me prior to the meeting. At our board meeting on Tuesday night, we will play this video, and then I will try to respond to any questions or comments that we receive from the public. The budgeting process for the school year is ongoing throughout the year. However, we start the formal presentations to the Board of Education for the budget for the following school year in February. As you can see here from our timeline, our first presentation was in early February, and between February 2nd and April 20th, when the Board of Education adopted the budget for the following school year, we've had several different drafts that we reviewed with them. All of the presentations from the Board of Education meetings regarding the budget are available on our district website. Budget development in the school district is an ongoing process, but we begin our first formal presentations regarding next year's budget with the Board of Education in February. You can see from our timeline, we review several different drafts of the budget before presenting it to the board for their adoption in April. Our philosophy when it comes to developing the budget for the new school year includes making sure that we do it in a transparent way. We want to make sure that our budget development is aligned with our reserve plan and our long-term vision for the district. We take the time to consult with our administrators and the other stakeholders in the district to make sure that we are addressing any concerns or needs that they have. And we always want to make sure we're informing and educating the public so that when it's time to vote on the budget in May, you're able to do so in an educated way. We use several different strategies when we're developing the budget. The first and most important, of course, is maintaining our current programs. The budget for the 2021-22 school year maintains and continues all of the programs, both instructional and extracurricular, that we've been able to offer our students over the last several years, programs that they've come to depend on. It also maintains all of the programmatic supports, all the things we need to have in place to ensure that the programs we're offering are high-quality programs. Over the course of the last several budgets, we've tried to right-size our budget to be more in line with what our actual spending is, eliminate some of the fluff or the contingencies in the budget. And always, we're looking to the future. While the budget we're presenting tonight is solely for the 2021-2022 school year, we're always looking 3, 4, and 5 years into the future and how this year's budget will impact some of our goals for the next several years. One of the important factors in developing our budget is our enrollment. As you can see from the enrollment comparison on the screen, we look at our enrollment both at the building level, the grade level, and overall district. And as you can see from the far left column, in the 2021-22 school year, we are anticipating a small drop in enrollment of only about 16 students. So our proposed budget for the 21-22 school year is $36,017,331. When we talk about the budget, we talk about it from two different perspectives. The expenditure side, or how we're going to spend that $36 million, and the revenue side. Really, where are we going to get the $36 million we need to run the district? From the expenditure side, we look at our costs in three broad categories. The administrative component, or those costs that are associated with managing the district. The capital component, which are the costs that are associated with the upkeep and maintenance of our physical plant here in the district. And the program component. And the program component are all those costs associated with our instructional and extracurricular programs. We present the budget in these three parts, and we break down the costs within them. And you can see here that, as would make sense, the program component is by far the most expensive part of our budget. The administrative component is slightly more than $3 million. The capital component, a little more than $5 million. And the program component, all those parts of the budget that impact our students directly, is by far the largest chunk at almost $28 million. And you can see here on this chart a breakdown of how those components compare from last year's costs to this year's costs. You can see that we have reduced some of the administrative component and some of the capital component, while the program component has increased. We also like to look at our expenditures broken down into smaller categories. This allows us to compare expenses from one year to the next. As you can see here, in several of these categories, we've reduced the amount of money we're budgeting for this coming school year. However, we have created a separate contingency category. Essentially, what we've done is we've taken some of the excess funding from some of the larger categories and grouped it all into one category called contingency. That way we know how much additional monies we have available should we need it during the course of the school year. This chart is just a nice depiction of the breakdown of the three-part budget visually. And as you can see, and as we've already discussed, the program component, that part of the budget that directly impacts our students, is legitimately the largest part of our budget. Now, in terms of significant budgetary changes for this year, there really aren't very many. The budget-to-budget increase of less than $10,000 represents a 0.03% increase in the budget. We have included in the budget for this year the potential for up to 3 additional teaching positions that might be used to help us address any loss of learning that we've experienced, our students have experienced because of the pandemic. So if you remember, we talked about looking at the expenditure side and also the revenue side of the budget. The revenue side of the budget is where we're going to look to get the $36 million that we need in order to run our district next year. As a school district, we're very limited as to what sources we can tap into for funding our district. There is the tax levy, the amount of money we gather from the property owners of the community. There is the state aid, the monies we get from New York State to help us run the district. There's a miscellaneous category where we have some revenue streams for rent that we gather from people who use our facilities and things of that nature. And then there's the reserves. And the reserves are essentially our savings bank, or our savings account. The tax levy, the state aid, and the miscellaneous revenues, those are new monies that come into the district. Our reserves are monies that we have set aside over the course of the last several years in case we needed to help fund the district's expenses. The local property tax levy is the amount of money that we gather from the community, from the property owners in the community. The tax levy is governed by the tax cap, and the tax cap calculation for every school district is unique. Here in Newfane, for a variety of reasons, our tax cap calculation indicates that we could raise taxes as much as 7.1% in order to fund our district for this coming school year. Well, the Board of Education and I agree. 7.1% is a ridiculous amount to ask the community to support in terms of increased taxes. What we are going to do is we're going to recommend a tax levy increase for this coming school year of 1/2 of 1%, 0.5% increase on the tax levy. What does that mean? The impact of a 0.5% tax levy essentially will generate a little more than $68,000 of new tax money on the tax levy. That increase is spread across all the property owners in the district. Now, we don't have tax property assessment information yet from the town. We don't get that until the fall. But we're calculating that increase will equate to about 12 cents for every $1,000 of assessed value on your property. In other words, if you have a home that's valued at $100,000, this 0.5% tax levy increase would mean your taxes will go up about $12. Now, one of the reasons for this tax levy increase is to help fund the No Supply List initiative that the school board has put in place for next year. No supply lists will be sent home with our students. We've talked to our teachers and our administrators, and we decided that any supplies that the kids need to be successful in the school district will be supplied by the school district. So here's a listing of all of the revenue sources we anticipate receiving in the district next year. You can see the real property tax levy and the payments in lieu of taxes equals about $13.8 million. Our miscellaneous revenue stream should be about $818,000, while our state aid, which has increased quite a bit, is up to just over $19 million. We anticipate using around $1 million of appropriated fund balance, and we'll be looking to our allocated reserves to support the budget to the tune of about $1.3 million. Now, compared to last year's revenue stream, you can see there that the real property tax levy is going up a little bit, 0.5%. We do anticipate a reduction in the payments in lieu of taxes, while our miscellaneous revenue should be going up about $180,000. As I mentioned, our state aid is up quite a bit to $19 million from $18.3. And last year, we took all of our reserve usage from the appropriated fund balance. This year, we're splitting that up between several different reserve sources. So the appropriated fund balance to the tune of $990,000 and the allocated reserves of $1.3 million. And that brings us to our basic budget of $36,017,331, which, as I've mentioned, is an increase from last year's budget of $9,343. You can see here on the chart, as I mentioned, state aid does account for more than half of our operating budget. The real property tax levy, around 38% of our budget. Our use of reserves accounts for about 6.5%, and then the other revenues and payments in lieu of taxes about 2.5%. So in summary, the budget we're proposing for the 2021-2022 school year is $36,017,331. That represents a budget-to-budget increase of 0.03% or $9,343. The tax levy increase is 0.5%, which will generate about $68,000. This program maintains all of our extracurricular and curricular programming. It allows for additional staff positions to address the loss of learning due to the pandemic. It maintains or strengthens all of our programmatic supports. It eliminates the need for any supply lists for this coming school year. And it continues to right-size the budget, bringing our spending plan more in line with our actual revenues. And most importantly, it does comply with all of the recommendations of the 2020 Comptroller's Report that we received this past fall. This year, the budget vote will be in person from 12 noon until 8 p.m. at the Newfane Elementary School. on Tuesday, May 18th, 2021. And we ask you to use the Aquatic Center entrance. If there are people who are interested in getting an absentee ballot, those are still available. I encourage you to contact me, and I can put you in touch with the board clerk who can help you get an absentee ballot if you prefer not to vote in person. This year, we're asking you to vote on the 21-22 budget of $36 million. And there are 2 open seats on the Board of Education. Our 2 incumbents, Anthony Castanelli and Margot Lingle, are the only 2 candidates who have submitted petitions at this point. And again, as I mentioned earlier, if you have questions or comments, I encourage you to please contact me at my email or the phone number listed on the screen. On behalf of the Board of Education, all the administrative team, the students, and the staff here at Newfane, I want to say thank you to everyone who has shown such wonderful support for our district, not only this past year, but for many, many years. We look forward to seeing you at the budget vote on May 18th and hope you have a pleasant evening. Thank you.